let me take a moment to thank Canaan. Ni hao, Canaan. Shesheng ya, feishang yang shenya. Thank you very much. This is a really big deal. I am so grateful, genuinely grateful, that the company that I care so much about, right, Stronghold Digital Mining, and you, Canaan, have been able to not only extend the Win-Win Hosting Plus arrangement that was already entered into, and you're expanding it now with an additional 2,000 Bitcoin mining machines. But in addition to that, I'm so grateful that the opportunity exists for Stronghold Digital Mining to purchase 2,000 additional Bitcoin mining machines that we as a company will own directly. I think this is a phenomenal business alliance, and I think I speak for just about everybody, right, who really wants to see win-win deals occur. Just not even necessarily in business, but maybe geopolitically and in other facets and areas of life. I'm really, really grateful that we've been able to strike this deal. And long live our alliance, and may it be mutually beneficial, not only today, but tomorrow, but for the foreseeable future. So thank you again, Canaan. Okay, so this is a really big deal. And I am, gosh, where do I even begin? First of all, we're going to do our normal numbers probably in a second broadcast later today. I want to focus really on this press release that came out today, which, by the way, you'll find a link to it in the description to this video. I'd encourage you, as always, to just read it carefully yourself. Basically, this is a deal that, from my perspective, gets us over the finish line. Okay, I really do believe that this gets us to 4 exahash of Bitcoin mining capacity. Okay, here's why I say that. Let's start with a little bit of a basis here. Let's put up a slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to look at this slide. We're going to look at it together. Okay, and basically what we see here is a press release that was issued on May 4th, 2023. And you'll notice, see the little red arrow that I have there? This press release basically announces the addition of 400 petahash of additional Bitcoin mining capacity. And the important line that's almost like hidden, it's practically, it blends in with the rest of the text here. It says, new Bitcoin mining agreement expected to increase delivered hash rate capacity to 3.6 exahash by June 2023. Okay, back to me now, please. The reason why I'm highlighting that is because there has been some question about, well, what's our hash rate currently? My perspective, and I'm not sure that this is necessarily a prevalent perspective, but my perspective has been to simply assume that, the information, right, that we're getting in the press releases at least points to some degree of accuracy in terms of what our intentions are and where we're going with our hash rate. I acknowledge and understand that there could be instances where maybe there are some, say, Bitcoin mining machines that have to come offline, maybe because there have been breakdowns, or maybe they're simply deemed to be not as efficient as they really could be, and so they're going to be rotated out of service, and newer, more efficient Bitcoin mining machines will go to take their place. And if that were to be the case, you could envision a scenario where we might be kind of like running in place, right? Where maybe we're at, well, we've said, right, that we crossed, I believe, right, the 3 exahash milestone back on May 31st. I believe there was a press release to that effect. But by my calculations, as of the middle of June, we basically hit 3.6 exahash. So there's a little bit, I think, amongst the co-owner community, amongst the shareholder community, right? There's a little bit of kind of like uncertainty maybe about, well, what's our current hash rate? So my best guess, it's not even a guess. I'm just sort of basing it off of the information that has been previously revealed, is that if we were basically saying on May 4th, right, based on that press release, hey, we should have, right, internal hash rate capacity of 3.6 by June, okay? And then if we're looking now at a press release that says we're adding a total of around 430 additional petahash of Bitcoin mining capacity as a result of the direct purchase of 2,000 Bitcoin mining machines directly from Canaan, as well as the extension and enhancement, right, of our win-win hosting plus agreement with Canaan, right? If that cumulatively adds about 440 petahash to the equation, 3.6 plus an additional 440 petahash, that gets us over 4 exahash. So yes, it might be nice, right? And I suspect that, when we have our investor presentation, there might be additional clarity as to, hey, where are we like right now insofar as our internal hash rate. But I think based on that slide that I shared and the information in that May 4th press release plus today's press release, I think we can kind of probably safely assume that we're pretty much there once we get these Bitcoin mining machines in place. And it appears as if though they're all going to be going straight to Panther Creek, which is great. That's awesome. I do want to read, and again, this is in the press release, so you can read it directly, but just in case you don't get around to actually looking at the press release, I do think this is a very, very important point that our co-founder and CEO Greg Beard, right? He mentions this in the press release. We are very excited to expand our relationship with Canaan. Thank you again, Canaan, through the purchase of basically the A1346 miners. Their most efficient Bitcoin miners, said Greg. These miners are among our best performers in our air-cooled Strongbox containers and provide an attractive value proposition given the combination of high hash rate, energy efficiency, and price point. The purchase of these miners further demonstrates our extreme focus on capital efficiency. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment because that's a really good point. Furthermore, Greg mentions, as we have demonstrated in 2023, we believe that our approach, meaning Stronghold Digital Mining's approach to acquiring Bitcoin miners, is differentiated from our peers. Meaning, hey, many of our peers in the Bitcoin mining ecosystem, right? We are able to fund the purchase of the 2,000 A1346 miners out of our current available cash on hand. That's another really important point that I want to kind of come back to. Additionally, the expansion of our hosting agreement allows us to further retain exposure to Bitcoin mining economics and power upside consistent with our vertically integrated business model. This compares favorably versus our peers that are announcing large miner orders that we believe will require, in some cases, substantial future equity offerings. Similar to our miner purchases earlier in the year, we believe that the cash flow uplift from this expansion will allow us to recover our entire investment in less than 1 year based on current hash price, forward power prices, and 95% assumed miner uptime. Okay, so let's start with just sort of the comment that Greg made about, the combination of high hash rate, energy efficiency, and price point. See, it's not enough to just say, hey, we want to gobble up as much hash rate as we can. I mean, I think there's something to be said for being able to strike an agreement that essentially allows us to purchase hash rate for about $13 to $14 per terahash versus perhaps obtaining, say, a type of machine from a different manufacturer that might, at least on paper, have maybe a potentially somewhat higher efficiency ratio, but the price is like closer to $33 to $35 per terahash. So, there's a very dynamic, I think, sort of metric that we need to understandably use when we sort of evaluate these deals, right? So I agree wholeheartedly that the combination of hash rate, energy efficiency, and price point, right, when taken cumulatively, in combination with what Greg mentioned at the very end of the comment there, where, hey, our expectation is that we can recoup this investment, basically, I'm paraphrasing now, in about a year's time, based on current hash rate, forward power prices, and right, assuming roughly 95% miner uptime, that's a very, very compelling deal from my perspective. It's a very, very compelling deal, and so I'm very grateful that we're able to do this. Something else that Greg mentioned that I do think merits a little bit of context and color. It appears as if though, sorry, sometimes I trip over my own words. It appears as if though we are, well, not it appears, Greg's telling us, hey, we are purchasing, right, the 2000 A1346 Bitcoin mining machines, the ones that we're going to own, right, as Stronghold Digital Mining, we're going to own them directly. We're purchasing that with cash that's essentially available on hand. So that's very, very, I think, relevant and important, because we have talked about, right, this idea that, hey, are we raising money in the capital markets to potentially fund Bitcoin mining purchases? Again, when we talk about cash on hand, again, I don't know, right? Maybe some of that cash on hand is as a result of, having sold some shares, maybe, but I don't get that impression, okay? And the reason why I'm being so kind of specific in my wording here is because Greg specifically mentions, right, that there are other, peers within the industry that are making a lot of headlines with, huge, Bitcoin mining machine purchases. But, Greg's saying, hey, in some cases, we believe that, those purchases are going to be funded by equity offerings. So, again, we have to take this sort of like holistically here, and look at the sort of the whole picture. But the impression that I get, and we're certainly, I'm convinced, going to get a lot more context and color during our investor presentation. But the impression that I get is that we are basically probably not for certain, but probably not issuing any sort of equity or doing anything like that at this moment, at least, as it relates to raising the capital needed for this deal. Hey, I'm happy to be corrected if and when the investor presentation comes out and we get more clarity. But I think just based on what I'm reading here and maybe reading a little bit between the lines, that's the impression I'm getting. And I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. Please do leave your thoughts in the comments section. I do appreciate when you and I can kind of have a back and forth and try to discern what might be going on. So with all of that said, this is like a really, really big deal, because, only once we are fully maxed out insofar as our current data center capacity, only then can we truly live into our full potential as an energy arbitrage machine, right? Where during times when, grid economics, so to speak, are favorable, we can divert our electricity to the grid, right? And help sustain the grid, right? By selling our electricity to the grid. When Bitcoin mining economics, by contrast, prove to be a better value, we can utilize the electricity that we create at Scrubgrass and at Panther Creek. We can use that electricity to power the data centers which run our Bitcoin mining machines. So, this to me is a very, very big deal. I think that, in terms of when will these machines be delivered? When will they be installed? The comment in the press release was now in the third quarter. Okay. So, my expectation is that it'll probably be sometime in the next several weeks. It's entirely possible, no promises, no guarantees, but it's possible that by the time we have our investor presentation at some point in August, I think it's possible that we might be at a point where we're either well on our way to having those Bitcoin mining machines installed, or quite possibly we'll have already had them installed and they're up and running. So the last point I'll make is there's a bit of a spike in grid prices. And so we are, right now, Bitcoin mining economics, currently BTCMW is around $91. Grid prices are percolating higher. PJM Penelec is currently, this is not an average, it's just like right now, $71.98. PJM PPNL, right, that zone of the grid is at $88.06. So, we're probably going to be diverting all of our electricity at some point. Maybe no guarantees, but we're probably going to be diverting a fair amount of our electricity to the grid at some point later this afternoon. There is evidently a grid alert just due to the heat here in Pennsylvania. So, we'll have to see how this plays out. When we do the more normal, update later today, we'll sort of talk more about how these numbers have impacted our revenue, at least per hour today, which I think is looking pretty favorable. Okay, so as always, let's stay positive. Let's be great. Let's keep sending a lot of positive energy, right, in the direction of our management team, our excellent management team, which, you know what, I think it's easy, right, for me, for any of us, right, to sort of, Monday morning quarterback things sometimes, or want to be like backseat, drivers. I, for one, want to allow our management team to be focused, looking forward, navigating Stronghold Digital Mining in the right direction. I want that to be their focus. I don't want them having to look over their shoulder to be, talking to me or other co-owners that are, maybe chiming in with different thoughts. Listen, we're a very dynamic group of co-owners with excellent ideas, some very incredibly smart people in our midst. And I think we all collectively want the very best for this company. I know I certainly do. And I think it's in that quest to see Stronghold Digital Mining live up to its full potential that we sometimes, right, become collectively as a group, right, we become a little bit anxious about, we want more information, or we want this, or we want that. I advocate that we all collectively try to be patient, let our management team focus on what they're doing. And when we have our investor presentation, I think rightfully so, there is going to be an expectation for a lot more information as to where we are, how we're doing, and most important of all, where we're going. Okay, I will see you later on today.